why isn't the average American able to just simply just know what's going on across the pond?
Not part of NATO. NATO is doing drills for the last year in Ukraine borders, persecuting some of the ethnically speaking Russian people.
Инструмент, как санкции против собственных граждан, предприятий, телеканалов, других СМИ и даже депутатов парламента.
You ready for this question? I got something for you, bro. It's a simple but deep question. Do you think Putin loves Russia?
Yeah.
Okay.
From
keep that in mind.
At face value, absolutely.
Yeah, we could be wrong for sure. So Travis, let me share a bit where I'm coming from, right? For the record, I have no interest in protecting Putin. I have no interest in protecting Russia, right? I just for the record, because I know this is where it goes. I'm just the type of person that wants to evaluate deeper rather than just say he's invading Ukraine. I tend to think things are just not that simple, right? Let's say two corrupt governments and power. And if there's Russian people on the eastern part of, and I'm using this analogy, right? If the eastern part of Ukraine and those people there want to be closer to being governed by Russia, closer to that power, closer to, because he is making allegations of these people being persecuted a certain way, right?
And I think the clearest way to understand where people's identity lies, and it's a lot of, and especially on the eastern border. You've already seen, I don't know if you were reading about it, there was two, I guess, separatist movements into Kyrgyzstan. I've been in Kyrgyzstan before. These are all previous USSR countries. And a lot of these countries still hold a lot of Soviet pride, as you possibly can. And you had mentioned Crimea about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Crimea was majority Russian. They were Russian speaking. They were Russian heritage because they were former Soviets. And that's how.
It seems during the Trump presidency, the reason this wasn't a discussion is because there wasn't a partnership between the establishment in America, and I'm very careful when I say establishment because I don't know the full answer to this, but between the establishment in America, NATO, and other influences that kind of benefit from something like this, right? That almost was.
Today we're seeing Russian people in the streets, open letters from leading Russian journalists and cultural figures denouncing President Putin's war of choice, and reports of Russian mothers concerned about the reckless deployment of their sons to this fratricidal war. I think it's important to remember back in 2014 when they didn't even acknowledge that they were sending Russian soldiers. They didn't even acknowledge when there were body bags coming back from Ukraine into Russia.
Do you have any analysis to indicate that there is dissent or division within Putin's government, or is it your understanding that Putin's government is united in this war?
It's an interesting question, and Jamie, without getting into intelligence, which obviously we look at, I mentioned obviously Russians protesting in the streets. That's not exactly what you asked about. But if you watched the meeting the President Putin had with members of his national security team the other day, it was quite striking, the back and forth he had with his intel chief in that meeting. The analysis of that certainly can be done in an open source manner, given it was quite public, but I will leave outside analysis.
Wait a minute.
And as you know,
it doesn't matter if there's contention internally with him. He runs that government. It's not like America, right, guys?
I would definitely say that Putin has a much louder voice in the Russian government than our president does, yes.
Right.
What country had the most nuclear arsenal? That was Ukraine. And does Ukraine still have those nuclear weapons?
No. Biden's speech here. Let me pull that up real quick.
This will be enlightening.
This is a premeditated attack. Vladimir Putin has been planning this for months, as we've been saying all along. He moved more than 175,000 troops, military equipment, and positions along the Ukrainian border. He moved blood supplies into position and built a field hospital, which tells you all you need to know about his intentions all along. With the world, we've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans and cyber attacks and false pretexts so that there could be no confusion or cover-up about what Putin was doing. Putin is the aggressor.
There are a lot of people in the U.S. that want out of NATO. I don't. I still believe in the idea of what NATO brings to the world stage. But I think it's this geographical distance we have between NATO right now that is bringing this wedge in.
This whole conflict fits the destabilization narrative of the George Soros of the world, right? I know that's highly speculative, right? And it's probably more conspiratorial at this point to connect George Soros to this conflict. The name is going to come up because he's the boogeyman of destabilizing economies, right? We can follow that trail. But my whole thing is no matter my wife told me like this. She said, no matter what a sitting government official believes could happen if they join forces, it does not give that sitting. This is what I was telling Savory. It does not give the right, for example, Putin to be like, oh, well, no, I don't want that to happen. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invade and take over so it doesn't happen. I'm going to strong arm this situation. It doesn't give him the right, Savory, either way, right? So it's like, we are going to get into another situation, right? But here's the thing that I don't understand with our American society. Where's the criticism? Where do we hear the same kind of criticism that we had towards invading the Middle East? I'm talking about that kind of level, right? Where's the Chris Hedges of the world to speak on the Russian invasion, right? Where's Noam Chomsky? Where's he at? Because these people are highly critical of America's behavior towards the other parts of the world, but Russia does this stuff, and all we do is brace for or guys, we criticize our government again for being weak.
Do you sign, and I don't know, this is just me brain, I don't know the answer to this. Do you sign a contract when you're part of NATO where you simulate this kind of possibility and you say this is how we're going to respond? Or does the leader in their country actually get some sovereignty in how they respond to something like this, right?
Other countries, I believe, will be getting involved. And I think it's going to be military action. Sanctions, you pointed out, sanctions aren't going to do crud anymore. We're way past sanctions. Sanctions are used to prevent war, not to end them. It's going to take.
Excellent point. Wow.
I think it's going to take a military action. And I think what's going to happen is it's not going to be like this whole we're going to invade Russia after we push them out of Ukraine. I think it's going to be to reestablish the Ukrainian border and then set them up so they can defend themselves.
These sanctions don't work. What we do know is that they will increase suffering and hardship for the American people. And this is the whole problem with the Biden administration. They are so focused on how do we punish Putin that they don't care and are not focused on what is actually in the best interests of the American people.
Right now, the real solution to this, Cenk said right wing doesn't love Putin just because he is an authoritarian, tyrannical leader. They love him because he's a white. Here we go again. You see, this is the solution that I've been waiting. I had no idea, guys, but this is it. White authoritarian leader. Race has become more important than even nationality. How can we forget about race, guys, in this conversation? What's wrong with you guys?
Let's hear Mr. President's thoughts.
Well, I have to say, I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting.
All right, so he just comes out of the gate, guys, and just starts swinging, right? Like, Travis.
Protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries. And then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas.
Oh, my God. Wait a second. Savory, get in here, Savory. Why are you in the background? Wait a second. Wait a minute, because I haven't heard this. I saw this, Travis, right? I've not heard the details of this.
Quick, I want people to see, right? What was the frustration of Trump, right? Right? North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that's NATO.
$73 billion from the
Look
UK.
at this.
Wait, what is? Explain this. What is this?
So this is what I'm reading here. Total spending on security topping $1 trillion for an estimated third straight. So this is what each country is spending, right, on NATO, on defense for NATO in the year 2021. So look, 73 billion, 65 billion, 59. So all the countries involved, right? So he's challenging countries, and then look at America. 25. There's how many countries in here? 30. And America pays 25% of this budget.
Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got in. It should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia, because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline.
Why is a president in America speaking up for another country in the way he is, for right? Because he sees the disparity. Why isn't the Chancellor of Germany speaking up on behalf of the fact that 70% of their oil industry is controlled by Russia?
And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened. And I think we have to talk to Germany about it. On top of that, Germany is just paying a little bit over 1%, whereas the United States, in actual numbers, is paying 4.2% of a much larger GDP. So I think that's inappropriate also. You know, we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting everybody, and yet we're paying a lot of money to protect. Now, this has been going on for decades. This has been brought up by other presidents, but other presidents never did anything about it, because I don't think they understood it, or they just didn't want to get involved. To bring it up, because I think it's very unfair to our country, it's very unfair to our taxpayer. And I think that these countries have to step it up, not over a 10-year period, they have to step up immediately. Germany...
I like the fact that he incorporated the taxpayer. I felt important for a second there.
...is a rich country. They talk about they're going to increase it a tiny bit by 2030. Well, they could increase it immediately tomorrow and have no problem. I don't think it's fair to the United States. So
I don't know.
I think one of the major things that Trump is, my opinion, what Trump is talking about is, where's Germany's best interest in? If they're getting all their energy supplies from Russia, would they really want to see Russia fall?
He's trying to give them a different side of the coin. Hey, you want to make money? So do I. So do the people who live in these countries.
Good point,
So
Macho, yeah.
forget about. Look, the only way you stay in power is if people down below you are happy. See, Trump gets the necessary evil. You want to stay fat? You want to stay eating in these nice little. This is a nice table. I like these flowers. Look at these curtains. These are great, right? You want this, right? Well, the people under you need to be happy. And if they're not happy, guess what? We're not happy. So I see he came at this from a service mindset, because what did Trump do for so many years? He created a business under a capitalist environment that is all about providing the need and via good and services.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes based on the consumer needs, not on what I need.
I think one of the best ways to look at this is at the end of the day, there's no government official here that's good. Mm-hmm. And there are an entire country right now whose home is not safe for them. I think that's the main takeaway that I have been thinking about for the last few days, is there are millions of people right now that don't feel safe in their homes right now because they have no idea if that next missile is going to hit them.
We're dealing with corruption against corruption over corruption. This is why this is so complicated, because you can't really pick a side, right?
But here's where I want to bring it home, Savory. Why the hell do we have Americans claiming, especially young black males, claiming to be communists?
It's just ignorance, man. It's just ignorance. I think it's that simple, right? It's just ignorance, right? Because when I look at this situation, man, I wanted to share this on the situation as well. Is there's no picking a side here, right? If you're honest, all right? Because at the end of the day, is generations after generations after generations of corruption, right?
This might be a reestablishment of bringing back the Soviet Union. This might be that sign. I have my criticism towards capitalism because of government involvement. However, I'd rather be in a capitalist system than to live under a Putin regime.